You don't need to spend any money to get started on your foot health journey. You've already got what you need lying around at home to start freeing your feet for free. A rolled up towel is super versatile. You can use it for your mobility drills, strength exercises, and it doubles as an ideal beginner's balance beam. The soft surface means it's gentle on your feet while still giving you a great challenge to your stability. Plus, if you've got a balled up pair of socks, you can start training your active toe splay, dexterity, and coordination, all while having a bit of fun. All right, so we developed our Soulmate to be our most accessible and scalable foot health and balance training tool. And we've been really blown away by the response that we've had from our customers and the results that they've been getting from daily use. But we are aware that obviously for some people the Soulmate is inaccessible, whether that's due to price or location, but also that for some people with particularly stiff or painful feet, even the Soulmate can be a little bit tough at first. And so we just wanted to create an even more accessible and essentially free alternative so that anyone can get started on their foot health journey. So in this video, we're going to show you all the different ways that you can use the humble towel to transform your foot function and get you back on the road to pain-free, enjoyable, and fun movement. Now, if you do already have a Soulmate, then you can do all of these exercises on your Soulmate. And if you're one of those people that are finding the Soulmate a little bit tough, then you can actually just use a towel to help make that a bit more gentle just by folding it up, putting it over, and you can actually choose how many folds you want to suit your current level. And before we get stuck in, it's also worth noting that all of these exercises really should be done in conjunction with a transition to more natural footwear and also more time spent barefoot. Otherwise, you'll sort of be taking one step forward and one step back. So we don't have to get into all of the details now, but we do have our free resource called the Guide to Foot Freedom, which takes you through the whole process of understanding, choosing, and transitioning towards natural footwear. So I highly recommend you check that out after watching this video. And with that said, back to the towel transformation. So you don't really need any specific towel, although generally a good thick bath or beach towel will probably be your best bet. And ideally you actually have two towels. So good to start with them rolled up. And one of the first exercises you can start doing is just a really simple towel walk. So this is actually walking sideways along the towel. I like to start in the arch. And this is just going to start opening up some of the tissues and the accessory joint movements in the feet. There's actually 33 joints in the feet, in each foot actually. And the only reason for a joint to exist in the body is for movement. And when our feet spend a lot of time in sort of stiff, heeled, rigid shoes, then our joints don't get all of the movement they need. So a little bit of this pressure through the bottom of our feet can do a great job of mobilizing those joints. And at first you may find that this is a little bit of a massage to the muscles in the bottom of your feet. If you want more of that sort of massage effect, you could actually slip a dowel or a broomstick in through the middle of the towel and you'll get a lot more of that effect. But for most people, just walking along like this is a good place to start. It's also you might find it's a little bit of a balance challenge. If that's the case for you and you're not too wobbly, just keep at it, you'll improve. Otherwise, you can also set up next to a wall and just use the wall for balance at first. So that's like an arch walk. And then another good one to do is along the forefoot. So the ball of your foot is basically along the middle of the towel. And ideally you'd be doing, I'll just show from the side, ideally you would do that with your heels hovering. If that's the case, you'll most likely need a wall at first for balance, but you could also just do this like that. It's maybe a little bit of a calf stretch at first if need be. You can do that and then progress up to doing it with your heels hovering. This is a really good way to just start getting used to bearing load through the forefoot, and also is a nice light calf exercise. So about a couple of minutes of that. You don't have to get too specific with the reps or anything, but it's a good way to warm up the feet, get them mobilized and activated. And then the next one is some big toe extension. So all I've done here is unrolled the towel a little bit. The more you unroll it, generally the easier this exercise will be, which you'll see why in a second. But it is nice to have this sort of cushioned platform, because what we'll be doing is a toe extension stretch. So you're setting up with most of your foot on this little platform, the ball of your foot down, and then the toes on top of the towel there, which you can see is already putting them into a little bit of extension. And then all you're doing from here is stepping forward. Now, for some people with really stiff toes, that might already feel like a bit of a stretch. If you're not feeling any stretch there, you can start to lift up your heel off the ground as far as you comfortably can. Now, you might start feeling a little bit of discomfort or pressure in the big toe joint, or maybe even a stretch along the inside of your arch there. That's pretty normal at first. You don't want to push through any pain really. If it's just a little bit of discomfort, that's fine. And you can just go for repetitions here. About 10 repetitions per side is a good thing to aim for. And what this is doing is actually mimicking how your toe should move in the gait cycle, or as you're walking and running. So you actually need about 60 to 65 degrees of big toe movement to have normal, good, efficient walking mechanics. And that big toe movement can get disrupted by, again, the stiff-heeled, conventional footwear that most of us wear for most of our lives. So when we're transitioning to natural footwear and when we're trying to restore natural function, you really do need to be mobilizing that big toe joint. It also plays a big role in how your arch functions. So to make that harder, you could again roll that back, and obviously that just lifts your toe or presets it into more extension. And obviously you could just push your heel further forward as well. You could then even take this knee down a little bit into a bit of a lunge if you wanted. Whatever level is right for you, over time that will increase, but after about 10 reps, or after 10 reps, you can just go for a nice 10-second hold, take a deep breath or 2 deep breaths, hold, and then you would swap feet. Now, again, the same thing, if you wanted to increase the stimulus there, you could add in the dowel. I've got a dowel there in case you're wondering what I'm pointing at. You can add in a dowel in between, and that would just increase the, I guess, the sturdiness of that surface so that you get even more toe extension going. But yeah, just let your body dictate, listen to the signals of your body and let it dictate how far you should move. The big thing here is not moving so far that you end up flaring up your foot or feeling a lot of discomfort afterwards. A little bit of discomfort during is fine, and usually is a sign that you'll be making some kind of change. If you're not feeling any stretch at all, you're probably not going to be making a change to the function of your foot. So after 10 reps, I know I may not have done 10 reps, but after you've done 10, a nice 10-second hold, and try and push towards the limit of your extension there. And then you can just slowly back off. So as you've mobilized that joint, or after you've mobilized that joint, another really good exercise to do is a calf raise. So again, you can use this as a platform and do a toe elevated calf raise. This is where I'll just demonstrate using the dowel that I was pointing to before. So a dowel for balance, or a broomstick or a wall, setting up both legs or both feet on the towel. And then for a toe elevated calf raise, then you're going up like this onto your heels, onto the balls of your feet rather, lifting your heels as high as you can, and then slowly lowering down, pushing up, and you're actually trying to push through your big toes as much as possible here. So I'll just show from the back. What you actually want to avoid with this exercise at the moment is doing this, which is very common if you've got limited range of motion through your big toes. So something you can do to avoid that is actually just place a tennis ball or some kind of ball of a similar size between your heels and not let the ball drop. But if you're finding that's way too difficult on your big toes in terms of the mobility, then you could just stand on the towel like this, or you could even just fold the towel, and that will just place less demand on your big toe mobility. And over time, you could do this against a wall, and you could stand further and further away from the wall, and then that will give you more of a lean. The further away you are from the wall, then the harder the strength will be and the more mobility requirements there'll be. Eventually too, you can build up to doing a single leg calf raise. So you'll definitely want to use something for balance there, going up and down. So this movement is obviously really important for the push off when we walk and when we run and when we jump and anything really that involves propulsion, which is a lot of human movement. So we want that ankle and that foot to be working together to create that rigid lever that you can propel off efficiently. So eventually building up to the single leg, but definitely starting with double leg calf raises. You want to go for at least 20 reps before you start moving away from the wall, and then before you start progressing to the single leg. So 20 reps is a good place to aim for. Next one you can do is basically the opposite of that. We'll fold this up again, and this is a Tibialis Raise. So instead of strengthening your calf now, we're strengthening the front of your shin, which is known as the tibialis anterior, is the technical name for the muscle. You can shorten it to tibs. And you're just lifting up your toes off the ground and slowly lowering down, trying to keep your knees straight, lifting up as high as you can, squeeze at the top and lowering down with control. Again, you can do this against a wall with your knees straight and your body bending over the top. And the further you stand away from the wall, the harder the exercise will be. Again, you want to aim for that around the 20 rep mark before you consider making it harder by moving your feet further from the wall, or by eventually going into a single leg raise. So that one is definitely tough for balance, so you're really going to want to do that one up against a wall. Again, you can build up to the 20 reps and you'll just feel all of these muscles activating a lot. And you want strength throughout the whole leg, because a lot of these leg muscles actually insert into the foot, and they all really matter for your foot function and, as I said, for your walking and running mechanics. So after you've done your 20 reps or even a couple of sets of 20 reps of both of those strength exercises, the muscles are likely to start feeling a little bit tight, and you might feel like giving them a bit of a stretch. So that brings us to our next exercise, which will be a calf stretch. For some people, just one rolled up towel will be enough. You may want to add in another rolled up towel for a higher platform. That's how I'll be demonstrating. And your heel is staying on the ground, your knee is staying straight, forefeet's obviously on the top there, and then all you're doing is stepping forward like this and keeping that stance leg or that back leg straight, and then you're just holding that position. So it's a bit of a boring one, can be a little bit intense at first too, especially if you've struggled with tight calves for a while. But over time, that will start to loosen up, especially if you are able to breathe and relax into the stretch. You don't want to be standing here going and sort of tensing up against the stretch, because that's just going to end up going the other direction. But if you can stand up tall, take a deep breath in, relax, and even move. You could even move that front leg forward a bit. That will intensify the stretch. And then you'd hold in that position again for another 10 to 15 seconds as you take another deep breath. And you could wriggle that one forward a bit more. Just take it at your own pace. You don't have to push this one too hard. Again, you really want almost like a 3 to 5 out of 10 feeling of stretch. You don't want that 8 or 9 like really intense stretch, because that can sometimes just be too much. And again, you want to aim for about 30 to 60 seconds on one side, and then you'd swap sides. Again, heel on the ground, forefoot on top, straight knee, step forward. If you need to use something for balance, that's fine. Keep the stance leg straight. You'll find the tendency is to sort of gradually bend it a bit. If you notice yourself doing that, just straighten it. And as the stretch starts to relax off, as your body gets used to it, you can wriggle that front leg further forward while keeping that stance leg straight. Remember to take a deep breath, in through your nose, out through your nose. Relax into that stretch. Again, 30 to 60 seconds on this side. And then if you're up for it, if you've got time, you can do another set of 30 to 60 seconds on both sides. But if you're ready to move on, the next one is the opposite stretch. So a tibialis stretch on the top of your foot. Again, the towel is the perfect platform to help you do that, because it makes for a very gentle platform on the top of your foot. So again, you'll be standing forward with one leg, standing with the top of your foot on the towel with the other leg. If you need to have a second towel, that's fine. And then the way you'll get a stretch is actually by straightening this knee again, and then twisting your hips a little bit to the opposite direction. So if it's my right foot, twisting my hips left, twisting my whole body left, you'll start to feel generally quite an intense stretch through the top of your foot and up through those muscles. And it's the exact same formula, 30 to 60 seconds. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out. And as you breathe out, you can try and twist a little further. Hold that position for another breath. Nice, long, slow, deep breath. Breathe out. And to make it harder, you actually bring this foot a bit further back. And that will intensify the stretch. So for the calf raise, the calf stretch, you bring that further forward. For this one, you bring the foot further back, and then you straighten the leg, rotate the body, and you'll really start to feel that. So we'll swap sides. Exact same thing. Start further out, straighten the leg, rotate to the opposite side, hold, breathe out, twist a little further. And you can even move your foot a little bit like that. That will stretch more your big toe into flexion, and the foot moving out like that will stretch more of the outside of your leg. So you can play with that a little bit too. But the big thing is continuing to rotate. And again, if you want to intensify it, bring this foot a little bit further back and continue to focus on straightening that leg, that knee. So now we've covered our mobility and our strength exercises. It's great to integrate all of that into some balance and coordination and control exercises. So you can use the rolled up towels basically like a soulmate. Roll them up nice and tight. You can stand on them like this. So this would be a split stance, and that's usually the best place to start. And so the idea here is you're up into toe extension, so your heel is up on the back foot. Most of your weight is on the front foot. and then you're looking forward like this. And then you would start to add in some various activities to make that more challenging. So one example is like reaching down to pick up a hacky or a balled up pair of socks in this case, and seeing how far you could reach to either side. Or at first you might even just be going, well, how far can I reach down the outside of my leg? Like so. And then you could progress to being able to reach further away, reaching further to the ground. So the idea here is that you're training the stability, but not really thinking about the stability and the balance. You're just trying to do a task, and then your body sort of takes care of the rest. So that's the idea. We've got a bunch of soulmate sessions that take you through that. I'll just quickly show you some different stances that you can try now. So there's the split stance, there's a tandem stance, which makes it harder. So that would be both feet down, even weight distribution. And that's harder because it's a narrower base of support. Then you've got a single leg stance. Some people find that easier than the tandem stance because you've got this leg free, but obviously all of your weight is on the one leg, so that's a nice challenge. And the beauty of this setup is you don't really need anyone to tell you whether you're doing it right or wrong. If you're staying balanced and you're not stepping off the towel or stepping back onto the ground, then you're doing it right. If you are stepping off, then that's the instant feedback that your body and your brain needs to then be able to adjust its patterns and have another crack. So the key is just keep getting back on, keep trying things, and you may want to just try the same thing. Can you reach down to the ground and stand back up or not? Or it might even just be reaching out as far as you can to the side. So that's a really good, simple one to start playing with in any of these stances. And then the next stance, the next basic stance, or the next fundamental stance, it's also quite challenging, is the ninja stance. And this is with the forefoot of both feet on the towel, on the top of the towel, similar to what we were doing with the walks, but now you're just trying to hover and balance. And again, you could start reaching for the hacky, placing it down, reaching to pick it up, putting it behind you. That starts to get really challenging. Or you might just want to see how far you can reach forward like that, how far you can reach backwards, how far you could reach to the side. So literally just spend about 30 seconds in each stance exploring. Now that you understand how those stances work, like I said, we've got the soulmate sessions that take you through a huge range of different exercises and different ways to play with those stances. And that is pretty much a whole routine. If you did those mobility exercises, those strength exercises, that should take you about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how many rounds you're doing. And then you followed it up with 5 to 10 minutes of balance training. That's a really good overall routine that you can do for your foot health, your balance, your overall movement capacity. And that could be a standalone session, or you could do that as part of a warm-up for any other activity you're doing, whether it's walking, running, gym, sport, whatever it is. And you'll find that your feet feel a lot better, you feel more stable, and you'll be well on your way back to that fun, enjoyable, pain-free movement that you want to be getting back to. So once you've built some confidence and built up your comfort level on the towel with all of those exercises, you've started exploring the soulmate sessions with the towels, then you want to take it to the next level. That's obviously where the soulmate comes in. It is a much harder surface, it's domed as well, so it'll make all of those exercises more challenging. It'll just build more resilience and adaptability in your feet, and it'll just take your training that one step further. But remember, just keep getting started on the towel, get addicted to the process, and come back to that later when you're ready.